What is up, everybody? I'm your host, Aaron, of the Standing Aid podcast. This is episode 87. Hope everyone is doing awesome on this Sunday, March 12th, 2023. Actually, Oscar night as well. It is great to be back to talk about the sport we all love, and that's boxing, of course. We'll be reviewing Creed 3, which I would say is Michael B. Jordan's passion project. It has so far exceeded 100 million globally at the box office, making it the best ever weekend opening for a sports film. Also, we'll be giving our quick predictions for the April 22nd mega fight between lightweight superstars Gervonta Tank Davis and Ryan King Rye Garcia, taking place at the T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas. Before we set it off proper, let's do a roll call one by one. First off, we got Tommy Rush Jr. out of Dallas, Texas. I believe he was just on a brief vacation. He's back from Cancun, I believe. Tommy, correct me if I'm wrong, but glad you're back. How you doing today, man?
Oh man, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I was able to enjoy that vacation and actually make it back. So hey, it's a great day. It's a lovely day. Ready to get
Yeah,
at
but
it. Talk some boxing.
yep. Blessings for sure. Also, we got the man himself, Mr. Courtney Tanner, aka the Brown Birch Sugar. Always an honor to have this man on. Always bringing the heat with his insights. How you been today, Courtney?
Hey man, always an honor to be back on. I've missed you guys. I've missed being on air. I get the emails, like the messages from our legions of international fans asking us what's going on, when we're going to be back on the air. As you know, this is a passion project. This isn't anybody's day job. We still got to make a living. Life gets in the way sometimes, but hey, lo and behold, we back, we here, and you know what it is, you know what it ain't. It's your boy Burt Brown Sugar, the one you love to hate and the one you hate to love. Hey, honored to be back on the air with you guys. And hey, things are happening in my life. Things have changed in my life. I'm committed to be a better person. I'm gonna try to clean it up on the air. Steven, still no love for you though, dog. No, I'm playing, man. Hey, congratulations, Stevens, on the birth of your newest addition to your beautiful and growing and a rapidly expanding family. Blessings, and hey, we can just dispense with the pleasantries from here on out and commence to talking that ish.
Yes, sir. Beautiful words from Courtney. Also, we got longtime collaborator Stephen Ruiz, who runs the Instagram boxing page Ringside Global. That's Ringside_Global. Also, hailing from Dallas, Texas. Let me bring up his Instagram page real quick. So yeah, man, we got Stephen Ruiz. How you doing today, Stephen?
Man, blessed. So happy to be a part of the show as always. I always thank y'all for having me on. I get to talk boxing with the best that we have to offer. And, when we get new collaborators, it's always great because that's how iron sharpens iron and we get better and better every day. So I got to thank Tommy. I got to thank you for having me on, the whole Standing Eight, the whole Dallas DFW boxing media. Ricky Vang, shout out. First time meeting you, but I'm sure you'll be a blast. And it's great to have Courtney, an old sparring partner, just a old journeyman, just an old piece of tough old leather, but he's here, he's game, he's gonna give me the best 2 rounds he's got, and let's keep it going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Also, we got a very special guest panelist, first time on the Standing Eight podcast. We got Ricky Vang, creator and host of the Spoiler Force podcast. I'll show up his page fairly shortly, but yeah, I've been following his content for more than a year. And if you get a chance to hear his podcast, you can really sense his passion for anime, manga, movies. Also, he's interviewed a multitude of interesting, very talented voice actors in the anime genre. So, Ricky, I hope my intro did you some justice. Welcome to the show. Any opening words before we started off?
No, you said it all, man. Thank you so much for having me on this show, man. I'm excited. This is the first boxing podcast I've ever been on. I'm usually more of an MMA guy, so I'm going to give my best thoughts on the sport. But thank you for having me on.
For sure, Ricky. But don't worry. We got your back. So we're just happy for you to join this ride with us. So, but yeah, I pulled it up. You can follow him at the Spoiler Force Podcast. A great content. Make sure you check out his stuff. So, without further ado, let's talk about Creed 3. Obviously, this is the third entry of the Creed films, and the first film in the Rocky universe without Sylvester Stallone's creative input. And neither is his character starring in it. First off, I highly enjoyed Creed 3. It's hands down the best Creed movie. Granted, it does contain some of the usual Rocky tropes that we're all familiar with, but there's one thing that makes Creed 3 like truly stand out from the rest, and it's not even its fighting sequences, which by the way are pretty innovative. It's the antagonist, Dame Anderson, played by none other than Jonathan Majors. Before Creed 3, the boxing villains that we've seen so far, they've been mostly two-dimensional, larger than life, comic book like characters. But in this movie, we have a villain that's way more grounded, multifaceted, with ambitions audiences can actually relate to. Um, Jonathan Majors, he played that character to a T. Like from the moment he stepped down, down that bus in the first scene, you could really feel the type of performance he's about to display for us. On top of that, Michael B. Jordan's creative direction on the fighting sequences, um, they serve as icing on the cake already. So those are my initial thoughts on it. So having said that, Steven, let's start off with you, man. Give us your thoughts on the movie.
I thought it was pretty awesome because you're gonna get some examples of some stuff you normally don't get from some old school Rockies. So Rocky IV is an all-time classic to me. That's my favorite one. Drago's on the juice. He's larger than life. But this one, it brings a different perspective. So shout out to Tommy. He flew in from Cancun straight with me, and since Courtney's his old best friend and I'm his new best friend, we went and saw it together in Fort Worth. So that was pretty awesome. But I gotta shout out to Michael B. Jordan because I think maybe a lot of people that won't pick it up, but now that I have a daughter, I really love the character of Donnie's daughter, being that she was deaf. So highlighting the sign language in that movie. Obviously, there's some tremendous boxing. We see Stitch Duran. We see so many, Benavidez, obviously. A shout out Hispanic character in the lead role. So that's pretty awesome. Naruto, I didn't want to take anything from Ricky, but you see in Donnie's childhood room, you see a Naruto poster. So that's kind of cool. There's a lot of hidden gems in there. So many things to unpack. I'll let y'all kind of look at some more of that. But even in the final fight, where it's just them two in the ring, how a lot of boxers say, nobody's going to fight that fight for you. It's just me and you. And they literally highlight that, just showing those two guys in the ring with Donnie and Dame. So shout out to the whole cast. They all did awesome.
Great stuff, and more about those fight sequences that you briefly mentioned. There wasn't not just the physical aspect, but there is also the mental aspect as well. And even in the final scene, the final fight sequence, I liked how they blocked out the crowd, and that's the first time that I've seen, at least, where we see like the mental battle. And there was also a sequence where Michael B. Jordan, his character, gets pushed back against the ropes, and you see jail bars behind him. So that was pretty unique and symbolic as well. So pretty nice stuff there. Tommy, let's get your thoughts on Creed 3.
Man, phenomenal film. The actors were stand up. They were great. Both guys played their roles extremely well. Jonathan Majors, played that kind of villain, old best friend role. Like it was very well put together. I really enjoyed how they pieced together, the past of the old relationship that they had, and how everything went down. How he basically made that sacrifice for him, and now he's back and he's looking for a little bit of sacrifice, on the opposite end, and just the way the whole movie actually flowed from beginning to end was pretty awesome. There typically in some movies like this, you end up finding some lulls, some pretty lull moments in there where the storyline is kind of dragging on a little bit. This one, I felt they teased it along pretty nicely. There were a couple moments like that, but it picked up smoothly, soon after. So I gotta say, like the things that are being discussed that are like the little nuances of this film, it, originally I was gonna say that Creed One was the best one for me. With this one being a very close second, man, I could go either way, to be honest. When it comes down to it, just with all of the additional pieces that went into this movie, and as you already mentioned, Aaron, not having Sylvester Stallone, or the Rocky character, or any influence pretty much on this one, made it a bit different. And so, really really great movie, and glad to see that it's doing numbers the way it's doing as well. It deserved it for sure.
Nice. Now, since you said that you believe that Creed One is the best Creed in your view, what's one thing that you could nitpick about Creed Three?
Man, um, I think that, I mean, well, really, you kind of know how it's going to happen and how it's going to go down in any of the Rocky movies, or the series, or even with Creed. Um, but I mean, it was like from the beginning of it, I was able to kind of like call some of the things that were going to be happening in the film, and then right after it would happen. So the predictability a little bit of it would be something that maybe I could try to nitpick, but again, the movie overall was stellar. Like it's a phenomenal movie, and as you said, it would have to be a nitpick to find something that was like really bad or really wrong with the movie overall.
Okay, nice, nice. Courtney, would your thoughts about Creed Three?
Man, I got a lot to unpack, and I know we're only blocked out for about an hour to an hour and a half, so I'll try to keep my remarks rather brief, and let everybody from the panel participate and get it in. But I mean, I'm I'm struck by how much hate I've seen on social media for the movie, especially among like hardcore boxing fans. I mean, the thing is, I'm the kind of boxing fan though. Is like I said, I'm a self-described crackhead. If boxing's on, I'm gonna watch it. If they're gonna make a boxing movie, I'm gonna buy a ticket. I might even buy two. But that's just me. But I'm all about supporting the sport and supporting the culture when it's out there, highly visible and in the mainstream. So I mean, I think if anything, a movie on this level, it's always going to be a celebration. It's always going to be a cause to celebrate. But I mean, it's in terms of what I thought about the movie, and by extension, the Rocky universe and the Creed series, is I think each Creed movie has gotten progressively better. So to say that if I'm pressed to pick a favorite Creed movie, I'm pretty much going to say at this point it's going to be the latest Creed movie, because there's so much progression with the characters and in the storyline with this. And I'm interested to see if they're going to take it a step further, and if they decide to, where that next step is going to lead ultimately. So I'm enthusiastic. In terms of the people who are panning the movie, I could think of a lot of other stuff that you could have wasted $10 on that would have been, subpar to spending a Friday night or a weekend with some popcorn in your hand watching this one. But ultimately, that's what it is. With these movies, they're popcorn movies. You should not go into the movie theater expecting to see, Chariots of Fire or even the first Rocky movie, which won an Oscar or an Academy Award. But it's basically, for me, I kind of take these movies like the Space Jam. It's a fun movie. It's escapism. You get to watch a story involving something that you'd be watching anyway on the weekend, which is boxing. But I mean, the things I loved about Creed 3, though, I loved how much love California was shown. I love that with the way the story progression is going. It's with the Rocky movies, they were heavily placed in Philadelphia and more along the East Coast culture, and now it's pretty much shifted out to the West Coast and focusing on California, Los Angeles. So I mean, I love that about the movie. With Creed 3, it kind of struck me on the same level as Southpaw, even though I thought I thought Creed 3 drastically better than Southpaw. But I mean, I saw the similarity in that the story progression is kind of going away from the ring. The ring is kind of the what's going on as far as the boxing is kind of the boxing feeds into the greater storyline as part of the other Creed movies or the other movies in the Rocky verse or whatever you call it, are kind of where the storyline feeds into what's going on in the ring in the actual boxing. So you see a kind of reversal in this. But as far as the fight sequences, as far as the storyline, I thought it flowed, and I thought it was a good movie. Thought it was solid. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10, maybe even an 8.5 out of 10. But I mean, props to Michael B. Jordan. Props to Mr. Coogler, who's wasn't directing but is still in a producing role. Props to everybody involved in the film. It is very. I'm not a filmmaker. I haven't studied filmmaker, but I would assume that it would be very hard to make a non-historical or non-biographic boxing movie, because it seems like there's only so many ways to tell the story. There's only so many ways to do fight sequences. There's
Right.
so many ways to have fights play out to where the outcome is expected and it's what people can root for and cheer for, but still give you some level of suspense. So, I mean, with that against you, going into making a non-biopic or a non-historical fight movie, hey, this one hit the mark. So, yeah, that's where I am with it.
And to more on your point, I mean, they had to think out of the box, out of the ring already, because in the past movies, past Rocky movies, at least, we've already seen the protagonist lose a decision, win a fight, win by knockout. So we already seen those.
A no contest.
Yeah. So we've already seen those play out. Now, what can they show us? Now we're looking into the metaphysical, the psychological battles. One with his family, one with his best, with the wife, and all those other side battles. And as you said, Courtney, they all eventually fuel the ring battle at the end. So
and I'm gonna jump back in on one more thing. It's I think the way they broached some very heavy social topics, as far as ableism, as far as raising children with special needs, as far as the shout out to the deaf and mute communities, and also dealing with in terms of inner city youth, minority youth growing up in the foster system, child abuse. They took some very heavy things and broached some very heavy topics, and were able to weave it in, not quite seamlessly, but I mean, I give them props for trying to tackle and address at least some of those things, and hitting some of the targets on that.
Yeah, they did enough to hit those tangent points, but the thing is, they don't want to spread themselves too thin for a hour and a half or 2 hour movie. So, but yeah, good points, Corny. Ricky, Mr. Ricky Vang, Spoiler Force Podcast. Give us your thoughts on the movie, and more so the anime aspect that Michael B. Jordan even mentioned about the influence of anime and incorporating that into specifically the fight scenes. So go ahead, Ricky.
Yeah. So initially, this movie I thought it was great. But I would have to agree with Tommy. I thought Creed 1 was a little bit better, just because of the storytelling. But Creed 3 was great. I like the idea that they touched up off, where they're not relying on Rocky's character so much, where they let Adonis lead his own, pretty much his own universe, his own movie, that type of thing. But I gotta say, man, the one who stole the movie for me was Jonathan Majors. His character had a lot more depth as a, not even as a villain. He seemed more like an anti-hero to me. Because in this movie they kind of show you what he went through. I love that they touched up on age as boxers. When you have like a limited time left to be in your prime, and you see that Jonathan Major's character Dame, he's like, he wants the last of what his prime is, because he wasted all that time in prison. And then seeing his best friend Adonis make it out there and being what he could have been says a lot for the anti-hero. So I do like that dynamic between Adonis and Dame, where they're kind of two sides of the same coin. But yeah, the anime aspect, man, I love the little nods here and there. There was a Naruto poster in the beginning of the movie. You can tell, like, even in the first fight where Adonis fights Ricky Conlon again, the shifting of his weight, how he moves and pivots, and how he was ducking the punches. That was very like Hajime no Ippo, which is a boxing anime. It was very heavily influenced by that. But I gotta say, I got a nitpick on this though, because I didn't like that CGI aspect of it, because it seemed a little bit much. It looked like a Marvel movie to me. I kind of wish they
Yeah.
they kept a little
I
bit
feel you.
more like slow paced, not super slow motion, but it was still good overall. But it was the ending that had the majority of the anime inspiration. The fighting between the brothers. That, as you can see on the screen here, that scene is actually from Naruto, where Kakashi fights his best friend Obito, who's become a villain now. And I was surprised that Michael B. Jordan used like a lot of more mainstream anime influences. So like a lot of folks who do watch anime caught on these little, nods. So there was that, and then there was also like the part where Dane punches Adonis in the stomach and he heals over. That's kind of like a Dragon Ball Z esque influence there. And then especially the part where they both threw punches at each other and they both hit each other in the face. That's that was clearly a shot from Dragon Ball Z where Goku fights Vegeta. And so I really like that there was a lot of not just like the fighting aspect of the anime, but there was also, like I said, there was the the brotherhood between them, the battle mentally, emotionally, physically. There was a lot of just small things that it wasn't overshadowed by anime, but you can see the influence there.
I'm gonna bring that. I'm gonna bring that screenshot again about that body shot. Um, you know what? Let me go back to you. I'm gonna go round by round. I'm gonna go one by one, starting to get back to Tommy. What did you think of that shot? You think, even though it was kind of sensationalized, in terms of realism, how real do you think that was? It was pretty impressive, that sequence. Just to put it out there. But Tommy, yeah, your thoughts on that shot?
Oh man, so one, on how real do you think it was? I think it was pretty damn real. Like, if anybody knows, somebody like a Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors, they're gonna want to bring it. They're gonna want to nail it. So he had to get nailed. Is what I think about the actual shot. I honestly, I mean, when it could be difficult and be a fine line on if you are really doing too much or not enough, to make your mark when you're trying to strategically put nods like this in place throughout a movie or a show or anything like that. So I think they did a great job. Like, to be honest, yeah, it was a great job in my opinion.
Good stuff, Tommy. Steven, your thoughts on that? And you can even, on the second screenshot, you can even notice some of his spine is, being suspended up
Yeah.
his back, as well as the sweat. That was pretty cool. I'd like to add that too. But Steven, your thoughts on the shot?
I like it because, like most movies back in the day, the good guy would always win, always win, always win, and then we started getting a shift to where finally the bad guys are catching some dubs in some of these. So just like Ricky said in Naruto or Dragon Ball Z, sometimes you have to make the villain show like a body shot like this to show it's just not the Superman hero showing up, saving the day, everybody goes home. So you do need some of these however you would say that, sensationalized shots where it shows the bad guy's getting his too, because the guy did show up. He is in a heavyweight championship bout. So I think that is important to the story because it can't be just the good guy winning for the entire movie. Just to go back a little bit, I do agree with Courtney's self-assessment that he is a crackhead. So go fast forwarding back to, like Ricky said, it is good that you get some good guy, bad guy back and forth. I did see a interview with Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan where they said the body shots were very real. That the headshots they kind of had to slip a little bit, but he was on TNT with Chuck and all those guys because I was doing a little bit of research, and he said no, the body shots were very much as real as they could get. Just to try and bring that dimension. The other thing I got to give a great shout out to, that it was kind of an ode to Rocky 1, was the ring entrance with the Day of the Dead, the Mexican sugar skull that he came out with Benavidez. So that was a pretty cool shot when he had the smoke in his hand and it was shooting out both sides. That was a really cool aspect on the ring entrances that they really seem to highlight in those movies.
Before I go to Courtney, I want to speak more about that. I mean, as I said before, this movie tried to touch on many things on the tangent, but I'm glad they touched upon how Mexican culture is really boxing culture as well. And my props to Michael B. Jordan for showing that angle of it and much of it too. So yeah, great point, Stephen. Courtney, your thoughts on this shot?
Hey, Steven, I went ahead and acknowledged that and made that concession that I might be a crackhead. But hey, you should definitely stop trying to fit into shirts that can fit me. Come on, bro. But anyways,
don't blame me. Blame the weights.
But anyways, hey, Aaron, great observation, man, with the nod and the reference to Hispanic culture and particularly Mexican culture being boxing culture. Hey, it's like Pac said, it wouldn't be LA without the Mexicans, and it certainly wouldn't be the sport of boxeo without our without the brown pride infusion from our brothers from Point South. So yeah, definitely was feeling the nod. And how that tied into the West Coast and the LA vibes of the film. That definitely it just gave the entire film just a fresher perspective and a fresher look going in with this being the third installment of the trilogy. And also, Mr. Vang, he made a concession that he's not really, he's only somewhat of a boxing guy. And so I'll make a concession of my own. I'm really not an anime person. So I'm as far as the anime nods that you guys are alluding to, they go over my head. Forgive me, I'm old. I'm approaching 40, and I'm not gonna make the statement of, I don't watch cartoons because that's gonna get me jumped out in the streets because we all know anime it's more than a cartoon, and you can't put it in that box. But I mean, as far as that shot and some of the ring sequences going in, I mean, for me, they worked. And as far as that body shot or the shifting of the weight, or even the way that that Dame and his character went down for the last shot during that knockout. It was exaggerated. It was animated in a sense, but I think the pacing and the flow of what they were trying to do, it worked so well that it was like, that was acceptable. That got a legit reaction out of, the people who were in the theater when I was watching it. So there was a lot of oohs and ahs, and that got, so I think it was an intended, effect of what they were going for in that.
Great stuff, Courtney. Ricky Vang, any last thoughts on Creed 3 before we move on?
You guys nailed it all on the head, man. Just it's definitely more cinematic when they do big shots like this, because they have to show you how powerful the villain is or the anti-hero is. They got to show you how the fighters move, because sometimes like in real fights you don't catch moments like this, so they had to exaggerate it in the movies. So this shot right here was done well. It's like I said, it's very anime-esque, but then they kept it as real as they could. It's not super exaggerated to where like Creed's spine broke in half or something. It's you can see the pain, and you can see his like pain when he's wincing and all that.
For sure. Now, before we end it on Creed 3, I got to ask this one more question about the movie, because this character played a relatively large role, and he was kind of the talk of the town. This is a nitpick as well. Let me start off with you, Steven. How did you feel about Jose Benavidez in the movie? Because in my opinion, as far as his acting performance, his performance in general, I had no complaints. But him being portrayed as a heavyweight, even though it's a fiction, it's a fiction counterpart. But come on, it's night and day when we're talking about those two weight classes. Even if we're comparing the character and the actual person, because when they actually size up, it felt kind of weird for me seeing Jose Benavidez being portrayed as a heavyweight, sizing up and facing against Jonathan Majors. If that was one major nitpick, if any, of mine about Creed 3. So, Steven, did you have any problems with him being cast as that character in the movie?
I think it's tough because as huge boxing fans, we know that he's nowhere near a heavyweight. I think what makes it even more harder is when you see Drago train with Michael B. Jordan. So then it's like, okay, that guy's a heavyweight. This guy's really not a heavyweight. So you're kind of getting some weird overlapping that doesn't really make sense. But for the movie, Tom Cruise, he's not really a pilot, but everybody's playing a part. So it kind of works. As long as they're in the same height, weight range looking. Obviously, Drago, like I said, training with them, it definitely shows that that's a real heavyweight. But I think as boxing fans, that sticks out major, especially when he's training and he's pulling a plane. Like only guys like me and Michael B. Jordan can do stuff like that. So it's not really that believable, people outside of me. But, it wasn't terrible. Like I said, the movie, it works. And what was that second part that you said? Oh, I got to give a shout out. Obviously, my main man Canelo deserves an Oscar for his Oscar-worthy performance. And then Bud Crawford, supporting actor in a movie. So, like I said, Canelo, Oscar for sure.
Tommy, was that really an issue for you? Was it? I mean, did that ever occur in your mind as you were watching this movie, or was it like, forgivable, not really an issue?
So it did matter, but it mattered to the hardcore side of me, understanding and knowing kind of the lay of the land of what we're talking about here. We're talking, Rocky and Creed and all that. There's been a lot of these types of moments throughout, the history of this series, as far as Rocky and Creed, where, even Rocky, like, this dude is a pretty small dude, but to see Jose Benavidez and to understand that this is, Creed, and this is kind of more meant for, to slide by the casual fan or the person that doesn't know, and they find out, hey, this guy's a real boxer, and then they go look it up, and they still may not really, catch the difference. I do think that it's a little bit of a strategic point as well, because it's going to get all of us hardcore people talking about it. We're going to pick that apart, and that's going to be something that gets that's going to stand out and be even more of a conversation piece. So, I mean, I think it's kind of there's a little bit in it for everybody, and some different intent. So, didn't really bother me, other than the fact that I knew better. But beyond that, yeah, I think it's all right.
Fair enough, Tommy. Corny, was that ever a pet peeve for you, seeing Jose Benavidez cast in that role?
I mean, shout out to Jose Benavidez, man. I'm gonna be the last person to tell somebody they can't get their money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They can't get their bag. You know
Fair
what I'm saying?
enough.
So you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna leave it right there and then come back to it later. I just had this thought, man. I feel like if this movie was done about like 15 years ago, maybe, you know, would have been the perfect part, you know what I'm saying, for that role as a Mexican heavyweight champion. And you know, and the first person that popped into my mind wasn't a heavyweight. It would be Fernando Vargas. He would like, I just, you know, when I was watching that movie and it was like I was trying to put my finger on it, like, yo, I've seen this person before. And it just, you know, it just really didn't come to me until now when you guys were talking about it. But I you know what I'm saying, I felt like he was channeling Fernando Vargas if Fernando Vargas would have been a heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. That was, you know, so that's just my thoughts on it. But yo, like, y'all ever went to see a Marvel movie with somebody who read all the comic books when they were a kid? And like how annoying that is, like, you know what I'm saying, that every plot twist is like, oh no, that it didn't happen like that. It didn't happen like that in the comic. That you know what I'm saying. So like, and a part of you is like, shut up. This is a cinematic adaptation. Like, so I mean, that's kind of where I am with it. Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like, I'm, you know what I'm saying. I'm those hardcore boxing fan that I know, but even I'm not that hardcore where I would just pan the movie up and down because, you know, the boxer portraying that fictional character is not actually in that weight class. I mean, if you look at Jonathan Majors, the dude is only like 6'1", you know, and you know, as far as weight, he's probably not even an actual heavyweight if he boxed, you know what I'm saying? He's just cut, you know, and like, and when you're making a cinematic boxing movie, basically that's all you're going for is somebody who is quite tall enough and buff enough to, you know, believable as a heavyweight. So, and 90% of the public who's going to watch this movie, they, you know what I'm saying, they don't know either way. They probably couldn't tell you who the current heavyweight champion is. So, I mean, hey, they went for it. They went for somebody who was available and somebody who was believable in that role and playing that character. And it worked. I mean, at least in my eyes, it did. So,
yeah, it definitely worked. But yeah, great thoughts all around on Creed 3. But
Hey, let me ask a question before we move on though.
Go ahead, Tommy.
Over under 2 on when his daughter actually starts, you know, getting her own Creed, and he's like training her and shit. Like, when does that happen? I think like maybe 2 Creeds, and we can have it. Just age him up a little bit. You got to find a different probably a different girl to play the role, obviously. But yeah, I think we got something in there.
That's a possible spinoff because they're making the Creed verse, right, Ricky? From my understanding.
I believe so. I mean, there was already like teasers of like Rocky 7, which I don't know how they're gonna continue that. But I think, you know, having a new character take the lead for the Creed verse, that'll be something new, especially being a female led character, because you know nowadays like it's kind of the thing now for the cinematic stuff now. And but I mean, as long as they can write a well written story with like a lot of good, you know, villains and all that, I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, will be interesting. So great stuff again all around about Creed 3. Let's head to the concluding segment of this episode, and that's our quick predictions for Gervonta Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. Their 2-day press conference from the East Coast to the West Coast, that's finished. But yeah, let's get our quick predictions in, and what you guys think about that rehydration clause that we found out during day 1 of the press conference. Tommy, let's get your thoughts on this. Go ahead, Tommy.
Man. So I'm gonna start with just the thoughts on the rehydration and everything. I think that the rehydration plus the catch weight combined was a little much. You know, obviously, you know, we've seen, we've seen Tank get called out for it. We saw Tank's response where he's basically like, why wouldn't I, you know, do that or whatever. Overall, I think I agree a little bit with a lot of what people have been saying across just the boxing world. That it's giving a little bit of scary vibes, you know, where or why would you you talk this much shit, and granted, I'm loving the shit talk that they're doing because they're both going at it like it's lovely. So this is what will make for this fight to really sell. But if Tank is so I'm just gonna knock you the fuck out, then you don't really need that. You don't really need that. And to Ryan's point, he's made it to where he's not going to get me at my best, but at the same time, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go crying that because one, you agreed to it. You didn't have to agree to it. You signed that contract for it, and now you're talking shit about it. Maybe you should have talked a little bit of shit before you signed, and maybe got that thrown out of there or something. But you agreed to it, and don't come off like you're already trying to pre-wrap an excuse, that well he's not going to get me at my best just in case he gets caught, which prediction wise I think he gets caught. I think that there's only so long that he's going to be able to maintain distance on Tank, and a couple of those bombs are going to drop, and we've already seen what can happen in a fight with Ryan Garcia when he gets hit. And I don't think he's ever been hit by anybody like Tank Davis can hit him. So I'm actually going to say 10th round stoppage. So that's where I'm going with it for Tank. I think that if they fight a second time, it would actually they will fight a second time because they have the rematch clauses in there. But I think it'll honestly be a little bit of a closer fight, but it may still end the same way. So that's about where I'm at with it.
My prediction, closely aligns with yours. I think, first off, for Ryan Garcia, we all know he has that, that subtle, quick left, and obviously he has speed, but that's it for him. Everything else, it's really developing, even at the semi peak of his career. And I think keeping Davis off for the whole fight will be a hard task. And in one of those middle rounds, I think he's going to be tempted to engage with Tank, and that's when I think he'll be in real danger. He'll be in real danger against Tank Davis. So yeah, I think around 9 or 10, I think Davis stops him there. That's my thoughts on it. Steven, your thoughts?
You know what I'll do? I'm gonna go the opposite side, just to stir it up. So I think this has hints of whose game plan works better. So is it going to be speed, which can kill, or power, which can end a fight? So there's a lot of things that y'all said that you can go either way. So what happens, because Tank is notorious for starting slow and losing rounds. So let's say he loses a couple rounds early and Ryan's picking up rounds and he's keeping him off with a quick jab, and tagging him with a 1-2 in and out. And before you know it, we're in the 8th, 9th, 10th round. And maybe that knockout doesn't come a la, Wilder, where if the knockout's not there, you're going to get outboxed. And Ryan has shown that he can box, even though, it's their opponent levels are both different. Tank's been in fights where Floyd himself is telling him, you are losing this fight. And then what does he have to do? He's got to go out there and he's got to hope that bomb detonates, because if it does not, he has lost the fight. So that kind of ties in with the Caleb Plant Benavidez shout out, because that fight's coming up pretty soon. I think this month, March 25th or something like that. But it's who executes their game plan. Even with hints of Khan and Canelo. Canelo obviously has power, but Khan was winning a lot of rounds because of the speed that he was tagging him and just getting the better of Canelo, while Canelo looked very flat-footed and wasn't able to match the speed of Khan, but kind of circled slowly like a shark till he got him. So I'm going to go with Ryan decision, because he banks rounds just to offset y'all's two, Tank, just to make it fun. I could easily see that happening because, like I said, if you're hoping a knockout comes and it doesn't come, like Wilder when he was losing to Luis Ortiz till he got the knockout, just like Khan Canelo where he was losing rounds and then he got the knockout. Same thing with I guess that's Barrios' fight that Floyd had told him, you're losing the fight. That fight as well. So it's not unfathomable for Tank to lose a fight by decisions, especially going up in caliber. Because I think we could both say that this is Tank's best opposition. This is Ryan's best opposition. So we'll see whose game plan works best. There's Joe Goosen, the king of Canadian tuxedos, that's helping him out, and they've been there for a couple fights now. So obviously he left Canelo's camp because maybe he wasn't getting enough time, whatever issues. But now he's with Joe Goosen, a full-time trainer that's going to get his guy ready to fight. He had Chris Arreola, who fought Ruiz, and Chris Arreola put down Ruiz. So these guys are not just coming in here to collect a paycheck and bounce. They are going to come and win a fight if possible. So I'll go Ryan 12-round decision. And then that's what I think causes the rematch clause, because I don't think there's a rematch clause for Ryan if he loses. I think it's just Tanks. That's one of the other things they conceded.
Fair enough, Steven. Fair enough. Courtney, let's get to you. Your thoughts?
Steven, absolutely no shade. I'm just gonna ask you this for like clarification though. Are you standing on that though? Like, you know, so are you willing to be like held to that?
I mean, are we putting something up? I think it.
No, not even in terms of that. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you know, like, okay, you said you wanted to mix it up because, you know, Tommy and Aaron, they both called it for Tank.
Yeah.
So like, you know, I'm one of those mean what you say and say what you mean. You know what I'm saying? And I respect your breakdown as far as a hypothetical in which way it could go or whatever. But I'm just interested in asking the question is that how you really see it though?
So to clarify, like I said,
What does your heart tell you?
Well, exactly.
Okay, so I can say it like this. I don't have a dog in the fight either way. Both guys are great boxers. Both guys, like I said, they do what they do. It's just about, honestly, who executes their game plan best. So what happens if it's later rounds, like I said, and Tank, that knockout's not coming, and he's in a 10th round, and maybe he's not used to being that far deep in the water. Maybe Ryan is like giving him the 1-2s, and they're bouncing off Tank, just like his name suggests, and it's not enough to keep him to keep respect there. What happens then? So I think we're gonna find out in the first couple rounds. It's just those first couple rounds Tank normally concedes. So standing on it, I can say I could see Ryan winning the fight 3-1 in rounds like that, 2-3 in the first 5. So it's very fathomable to say, okay, I just need to win 4 more rounds, you know, a couple more, and I've got this fight via decision if I don't get knocked out.
So yeah, so you're basically saying that like the knockout doesn't materialize and the fight gets away from him. You know, so yeah, I can see that. You know,
so
right, cool.
And we've seen fighters where, you know, they get boxed all night, and then the corner's telling them, you got to knock this guy out or we lose. And if that knockout doesn't come, you know, granted, we'll see how the decisions go because boxing is notorious for decisions. But we'll see how it goes. But I mean, the money would make it Ryan fights, Tank activates a rematch, and now we have 2 fights, and that's not to go over boxings either, because you know they're very interested in trilogies and rematches. So I could see that happening, and it's not unfathomable to me.
In a sense, Steven just told me to put some respect on his prediction. To that, I say okay. All right, you got it, dog. Nah, but no. In terms of how I feel about the rehydration clause and the catch weight, I'm just gonna basically, you know, saying go and piggyback and not even piggyback. I'm just gonna what Tommy just said, because that was pretty much precisely what I said before we got on air. So you know, saying without repeating myself, but like yeah, that's exactly how I see it. I think what Tank is trying to do is trying to evoke the spirit of Floyd Mayweather and what he did to Canelo on that, which I'm saying, like, slow your roll, homie. You are not there yet to be able to have it like that without scrutiny. So, you know, I think the level of scrutiny that, you know, this is being given is appropriate simply for, you know, because it's kind of like one of those things. It's like to Tank, it's like, yo, who do you think you are, man? Like, you know, like, what have you done to have it like that? But like, you know, like Tommy said though, ultimately Ryan Garcia signed the contract, and ultimately people sign on the dotted line in this climate, in this day and age, because they see something in someone else to where, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, they're willing to go ahead and view that as an acceptable risk level. So, hey, we got to fight. So, Showtime, CBS Corporation, take my money. I'm you know what I'm saying, I'm a click buy on that. And do so with a smile on my face while pouring some M&Ms in my popcorn. As far as my prediction, honestly, I think Tank is gonna do Ryan Garcia like he did Rolly. You know what I'm saying? And that's nothing against, and that's really no shade against Rolly. I think you know what I'm saying, I think Rolly was asking some very difficult questions of Tank, you know. And I think the person who has asked the most difficult questions of Tank has been Mario Barrios. But I would say next up was Rolly until he got that phone line disconnected for non-payment.
Yeah,
And, you know,
Pitbull put him to the test.
And, you know, I like and, you know, before we went on air, you know, saying I was going back and forth with Steven about the triangle theory and about Styles making fights. So obviously, I have to put some respect on Ryan's skills in that regard. I got to put some respect on Luke Campbell being his own man, and I got to put some respect on Tank being his own fighter. But what Luke Campbell was able to do for me, that put a lot of paint up on the walls without much primer, and you know, that's what I see dripping. I think Tank catches him with something, or in a very similar situation with Luke Campbell did. But we all know that Tank Davis is just about as impeccable of a finisher as there is in the game right now. And I think should he get Ryan Garcia in a similar situation, it's gonna get ugly. So my official prediction, the one I'm standing on, the one I'm gonna go ahead and put down on wax, is Tank Davis, and it doesn't go any longer than 6 rounds.
Nice. Under six. Cool. Mr. Ricky Vang, you looking outside in, we know that you're not in the in deep in boxing, but you know, you've heard about this fight being made already. It's been reaching even the casuals. You outside looking in, you seeing them size up each other. What is your prediction for this fight?
I've had some friends who are in my group chats talking about this. I didn't know about the contract clauses. I didn't know about any about that, or about like the hydration or the catch weight and all that. I just knew that both these guys are great fighters. I spent my morning this morning watching their highlights. I do like Garcia's style, but it looks like he really relies on that left hook a lot. And Tank is a monster. Like, he has power in both hands. I think it all comes down to who engages who first. If Garcia stays on the outside, just picks, he might win just by, just doing that the whole fight. But if he decides to trade a Tank and Tank catches him, and we've seen Garcia get dropped before too, so I don't know. I'd say I give it to Tank, but then round 8.
Nice. Great thoughts all around. So that's it for episode 87. Actually, our first episode of 2023. Hopefully we churn out more. But yeah, let me go one by one. Merry-go-round. Tommy Rush Jr., any last thoughts before we close that out here?
Hey man, I'm just glad to be back on the air, man. Glad we got Ricky here, man. Fantastic, man. Thank you for joining us, Stephen, Courtney, Aaron. Hey, everybody, all the listeners. Shout out to all of y'all. Shout out to all of our peers. In the sport. Talking up boxing, just like we all love to do. Yeah, man. This is a great. It's gonna be a great start to the year. We've already had some exciting fights that we've seen so far in this first quarter, and it's about to heat up. It's about to heat up. So I'm excited and ready to get after it and ready to talk that shit on here more and more. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Tommy. Steven Ruiz, Ringside Global. Any last thoughts, shout outs you want to give out before we end it?
Oh, I'm gonna do it huge, real fast. I'm gonna do it better than Courtney's because he shouts out all Samoa and everybody. Well, that's okay. That's okay because we need everybody tuning in and watching. But Jose Rendon, my partner in all this, Uppercuts, Boxing Nation. I'm always in there with those guys: Christopher Kennedy, Fernando Dixon, All Access Elite, Jimmy Blue, Long Live Boxing, Hopper, Manny, Sean Hicks. In the Ring with Christine every Wednesday. Her and Nika. Ricky Vang, for sure, you being on with us and giving us your perspectives. Aaron, Courtney, Tommy, obviously. I'm trying to make sure I don't leave anybody out. But, just as always, it's a pleasure talking boxing with you guys. I do want to give a special shout out to Courtney's mom. I believe they reached out to her to get the naming rights for Thunder Lips on maybe the sequel to Creed. So she gave him the blessing to be for Thunder Lips and the bad guy, the next one. That was Hulk Hogan's villain part. So shout out to Courtney and his mother for allowing Thunder Lips to be used.
Okay, Courtney, I gotta go straight to you. I was gonna go to Ricky, but nah, I gotta go to you. You gotta respond, man.
Yo, we talking about moms in the air, man. Hey, you know what? Hey, I'm not even gonna stoop. I'm not even gonna stoop because next thing people will be like, wow, y'all talking about dudes' pectorals on the show. Oh man. Hey, but hey, I want to give a shout out for, the person who is just on my heart for this broadcast, and I'm racked with guilt. I didn't make an effort to reach out and to put him on and to put him down with this on this episode. Dame Lee, you know what I'm saying? One of the biggest movie heads, boxing heads, technical experts in both areas that I know. I know that he's out in Columbus, Ohio. He's doing his thing with the photography and the videography for local talent in the music industry out there. But Dame, if you're watching this, just let you know, you was on my heart, man. And wish you could have been here, man. Huge shout out though. Huge shout out. Major influence on me as a person who has formed a lot of my perspectives on the game, and who, the person who convinced me that the triangle theory was trash. So, shout out to Dame Lee, doing your thing, man. We didn't have you on, man. You were seen, you were heard, and you were definitely felt out there. Keep doing your thing, man. We love you. We're proud of you, man. Shout out to Ohio Runs Boxing while we're in that area. The first lady of boxing, Tiffany Daniels, and Marcus Nall doing their things out there, respectively, on social media and out in the greater community with the real estate business out there. Michael Gomes, one of the original OGs, Daniel Pena, D-Rock, we love you. Come on back, dog. We're still praying for your return to the panel, man. Yeah, because we need to push Steven out, man. You know what I'm saying? But and Steven, you want borrowed time, dog. You're only on here when Michael Gomes or Daniel Pena decide to come back, dog. You're relegated back to guest panelist status, man. So you know what I'm saying? Talk all the ish you want, man. But your time is very limited on here, man. But no, shout out to Steven. Like you said, iron sharpens iron. Diamonds, they polish other diamonds, man. So mad respect to you. And my mom will whoop your ass though. Tommy, I'ma see you out there during Easter. And Aaron, next time I find myself out on the West Coast, you already know what it is, man. Shout out to Antoine Wilkes, my arch nemesis, for what he's doing for the community and for the youth out there in Boston. With this gym startup out there. We love that about you, man. And everybody who is working with the youth and encouraging the youth of today to put the gloves on and put the guns down. We stand with you, and we always will with the Standing A podcast family. Globally, we want to shout out to everybody internationally and around the world, all regions, all continents, who continue to rock with us, who continue to show love and continue to fiend for new content. We are committed to serving that up for you. We love y'all for loving us. And you know, a little announcement for those of you who don't know, I will be making a move overseas to Korea this summer. You know, that's going to be quite a time gap, but I'm committed to you know, holding it down and making it work so that Steven Slot does not become permanent. But hey, thank you. Hey, thank you all on the panel. Hey, Ricky. Hey, it was an honor to be on the show with you, man. And hey, best of luck in any and all future endeavors for you. Hey, love y'all. It is what it is.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you. Ricky, Mr. Ricky Vang, the Spoiler Force podcast. Be sure to check him out. Any last words, shout outs, and also feel free to, you know, tell us what to look out for. Any upcoming guests that you have lined up. Yeah, the podium is yours before we close it out.
Yeah, just thank you to Aaron for inviting me on the podcast here. Nice meeting Courtney, Tommy, and Steven as well. Thank you guys for having me on this panel. You know, thank you for letting me talk about Creed with you guys and even give my thoughts on boxing, even though I don't have much knowledge of it. But yeah, you can check out Spoiler Force on all podcasting platforms and on YouTube. You know, speaking of boxing, I am going to be having an amateur boxer on my podcast coming soon in the next few weeks. So his name's Titus
Oh,
Yang.
dope.
He's very young. His dad was actually on my show when I first started, like back in like 2020 around there. So it's going to be great to talk to him as well.
I'm sorry to
But
cut you
yeah,
off. Could you repeat that name again?
his name is Titus Yang. It's Tydus Yang Yang. He's only like 12 or 13. He just started a year ago. He's 4-0 as an amateur. He's from Michigan, or I think Detroit, Michigan, around there.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
nice.
he just started. He's very young, so he's gonna be on the show. I'm gonna be speaking with him within the next week or so, and then that episode will be up within like 2 or 3 weeks.
Nice, nice. Well, that's going to be it for episode 87 of the Standing 8 podcast. I'm Aaron Sorial. With me, my usual cohorts again. Shout out to you, Mr. Tommy Rush Jr., Courtney, the brown bird, tongue twister. I'm
Hey,
sorry.
it's Brown
The brown
Sugar,
bird
baby.
sugar, man. I'm sorry, Courtney. Shout out to you, Mr. Courtney Tanner. Stephen Ruiz of Ringside Global. Follow him at ringside_global. And
Shout out to you,
also-
Aaron, coming to Texas. We're gonna get to hang out
That's
with you. I'm
right.
gonna pick you up from the airport myself and
Yeah,
charge you
hey,
a little less than Uber.
I'm flying in the same day as the fight, and I'm dipping out. So let's make the most of it. So, and Ricky Vang of the Spoiler Force podcast. Be sure to check his content out. You know, quick shout outs off the top from me. These groups already mentioned, but I'll mention them again. En Vivo podcast, All Access Blue, All Access Elite, Front Proof Media, the whole Pound for Pound Facebook group who's been fueling us all these past years. Daniel Pena, Michael Gomes, Manuel Guevara, Julio G, Julio Zavala to be exact. Yeah, man. I'm hitting a brain fart, but that's all I can remember. But you know who the rest of you are, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in for episode 87 of the Standing 8 podcast. Till next time, be safe out there. Peace. We out.